Good day and welcome to the Think React Lead radio show. I'm your host, Dom Fawcett, executive coach and leadership speaker with Think React Lead, here with you on Intelligent Talk 960, the Patriot KKNT. Well, folks, I hope you're having a fantastic day. I am on Facebook Live. Feel free to watch. If you're watching on Instagram, going live right now as we speak. And we're going to have some fun today. Yes, you can have fun on radio if you're listening. I appreciate that. Big shout out to my guy, Jason Goldsmith, here with the video camera and the setup and making me look like I do on social media. Sir, thank you very much. I appreciate that. He's so good at what he does that I don't even realize he's here. Not that I'm ignoring him, but he doesn't need my validation. But he's just like, if you're hiring a videographer, and that's not what this show is about. But if you do hire one, make sure you hire somebody that's kind of like, close enough to be seen, but far enough away not to be introduced, right? He's just sneaky with it. Anyways, you're here. 960 Patriot KKNT. I said earlier, I am your host, Dom Fawcett, and we'll be for the next hour. We're going to talk a lot about emotional quotients or emotional intelligence. And why are we going to talk about that? Well, here's why. I truly believe that many people miss the boat on this, right? And I say that because people get so caught up in their own feelings and their own emotions that, guess what? They miss out on so many opportunities, right? And I have heard people say, well, you have to be a certain level of education or experience in a certain area to have said, let's just call it emotional intelligence, oftentimes referred to as EQ. But what this does is it allows you to be able to inspire and motivate others to cooperate with you to accomplish a shared objective and vision. The old Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that is really what it boils down to. Imagine if you can go the week, not get caught up in your feelings, connect with the people that you need to connect with, put your pride aside, and not feeling like you have to prove yourself to everybody, and making the other person feel more important than you. Just think about how much you can get done. Just think about that. Huge shout out to Jason Cisneros, Facebook World, Christopher Kaysen. Thank you very much for tuning in. There's a couple others out there. But, it's the ability to increase your self-awareness is one method that will help you increase your emotional intelligence, right? Self-development understanding is the foundation of excellence. So before you can lead and inspire others, you must first understand your own motivations and behavior, right? Understanding, let's break that up. Understanding your own motivations. I'm not talking about, I'm not motivated to do it. Everybody has a motivation to do a thing. Like if I decide I want to go out to eat, well, my motivation to driving is because that vehicle, as I operate it, is going to get me to said destination, and I'm going to be able to sit down and eat, right? So when you understand what your motivations are, and I'm going to use something that I heard in the South, you won't start your day all willy-nilly. Like you'll progress your day or in your day with purpose. Think about that. What if you could, every single thing that you do was nothing more than you being purposeful in the day? And then understanding what behaviors you need to engage in order for you to get out of the day, out of the moment that you want. Many of you do not take into consideration your behavior in the moment. And I can tell by some of your guys' posts, the people that I engage with or interact with, or sometimes just see on various social media platforms, I can tell in your videos. You just do it to do it. You're like throwing stuff to the wall to see what sticks. And folks, nothing sticks. There's way too much competition out there for us to, I'd say, move about in the fashion of, hey, if it works, it works. No, you start with, it's going to work. And this is how I'm going to make it work. So let's talk about developing your vision by learning to listen to your inner values. I talked about this late last night on a Facebook Live. understanding your intuition. There is so much benefit in understanding self before you try to get other people to understand you. Like, there's a lot of benefit there. One of the primary benefits that I have found is that it allows you to show up in 100% authenticity. It allows you to just let people see who you are, how you operate. When people know how you operate, guess what? They know what to expect from you. And when people know what to expect from you, more oftentimes than not, they are comfortable. And you want people to be comfortable with you. And it's not about thinking, well, I don't care what they think about me, because I've heard people say that. You do. I see all the filters that you use on social media. If you didn't care what people thought about you, guess what? You wouldn't be using all these filters, right? You wouldn't, spend the money on the clothes that you do, because some of the clothes that you guys purchase aren't that comfortable, right? The shirt I'm wearing right now, not the most vibrant shirt that I own, but hands down, and I was talking to the producer of the show right before the show, this Lululemon button-up shirt that I have, and I'm not sponsored by them, but hands down, it's more comfortable than tank tops. Do you know what your vision is? And I've mentioned vision in the past several times, but are you taking the time to understand what your vision is without asking for permission to develop said vision? Right? This is really understanding your intuition. This is doing the things that we're talking about in today's show is going to increase your emotional intelligence. When you increase your emotional intelligence, like, the numbers in your bank accounts rise, because now you become more self-aware and you're able to embrace the passion that you have by learning to be motivated by your internal compass rather than any external forces or situations. For those of us that were in the military or grew up in a certain time where we had compasses, a compass is something that if you don't know how to use it, it will send you down the wrong path. I remember in the military, we had a 3-week course specific to land navigation. So we had compasses, we had a compass, you had to understand your longitude, latitude, and there's a bunch of other words that we use. This is where you're using a black crayon marker pencil type thing on a laminated map of an area that you're deployed to. And there's a lot that goes into utilizing a compass. Same thing that said for you. There's a lot that goes into utilizing self-direction. It's not just a feeling. Because oftentimes, when you do operate off your feelings, you have proven that it does justice. So when we're able to acknowledge or understand what external situations or forces cause us to act or be a specific way, and we have a full understanding of what these are, then we can go into understanding our own internal compass. As opposed to starting with the compass, why can't I get further in my business? Why can't I get further in my relationship? Because you're still struggling with things from 5 and 6 years ago that you haven't addressed. I want to say it's that simple. To me it is, but it really boils down to respecting yourself. Like, when you respect yourself through and through, then it's harder for external forces, let's just call them people. It's harder for people to negatively engage with you. Why? Because they're intimidated by it. Like, when you show up to the point where people will say or assume that you might be arrogant until they get to know you, right? That your confidence outweighs and overshadows any negativity that comes your way, to the point of you not noticing it. Why? Because your emotional intelligence is too high to be impacted by it. Now, let's talk about strengthening your discipline. Strengthening your discipline and even self-management. Let's start with the small things. Let's start with the start of the day. Your alarm goes off. And I've mentioned this before. You don't get out of bed. You just hit snooze. What is the point in setting an alarm, of intentionally setting an alarm for a specific time, and then when that time comes, you don't get up? You've started your day off wrong. So how do you fix that? Well, it's called discipline. You need to strengthen your discipline. One way to do that is when your alarm goes off, you get out of bed. Right? Then another way to do that, I would strongly, I implore you to have a 60-minute moment in the morning where for the first 60 minutes of your day, you know exactly what it is that you are going to do. And 60 minutes flies. And one of those things that you're going to do is not get on social media, right? Not turn television on, right? You're going to do something that does not require electricity for the most part. Maybe the showering is there. But I'm talking about you engaging you. So this could be getting up, and this could be walking outside, going for a run, knocking out 100 push-ups, right? Just moving the body. Maybe get a glass of water, right? There's so many things that you can do within the first 60 minutes of your day that starts your day for a better engagement of who you are throughout the day. Because the people that you're going to come in contact with, whether it's virtual or not, the people that you're going to come in contact with need the full version of who you are. So learning to be responsible for your behavior, your attitudes and actions will, or can, if you do it right, raise your performance level as well as help you build trust and authority with others. See, the goal here, folks, is to, I mean, at the end of the day, to have command presence. So establishing greater authority with others, to the point where you don't need to introduce yourself. People just know what you're about before you open your mouth. Like that is vitally important. But you get there by starting at home. Bet you never thought about that one. See, having come from the corporate space and I just think I've been self-employed, for 4 years now, going on 4. But being in the corporate space for so long, you get to see people's character traits and how they show up in the office versus how they show up anywhere else. And 9 times out of 10, that's a dumb statistic, but 9 times out of 10, the two don't match. Now, why do they not match? I'm gonna go back to disrespecting self. When we're not addressing the things that are holding us back, we're disrespecting ourselves. It shouldn't take somebody else to show us the areas within us that we have yet to address. But I'm glad we don't do that, because otherwise I wouldn't have a coaching business. But it's very easy. You got to learn how to sit in silence and get structured in your day. And I talked right before break, we were talking about the first 60 minutes of your day. It's simple. You get out of bed. You start moving. Once you start moving, you get some water. I wouldn't even eat. Like get out of the habit of eating. And I started doing that. Well, I was doing it in the military, but once I started speaking and traveling, and I realized that everybody's not going to cater to Dom, and I had hotel rooms. It was me by myself. Sometimes food wasn't there. I started fasting in the morning, just in the morning till like noon. That way I could have a clear head and have better conversation from stage and not have to concern myself with eating. Once I realized I'm not going to eat, and I just told myself that the night before, then the moment I would wake up and get on stage, or in this case now because of COVID I can't travel, on radio, the clarity is there. It's there to a point of me not having to be sluggish in my speech pattern. So think about it like this. Your conversations to self, so your self conversations are sluggish. That's why your results at best are sluggish or nil. And as long as you continue to depend on things that you don't need, like you don't need food at the first hour in the morning. You don't need that. You don't need coffee. And if my wife's listening, God bless her, she will disagree with that wholeheartedly. But the goal is to get to a point where you don't need anything. And when you don't need anything, guess what? It's not a distraction. Guess what's a distraction? When you wake up and say, oh, I need coffee. Now you have to go make it. Now it's taking you away from reading. It's taking you away from maybe meditation. It's taking you away from just enjoying the moment that you woke up in. So that's something that I think everybody should work on. I'm not speaking on things that I don't do on my own. And everything that I mentioned, I've done and I've continued to do. There's I'm going to say seek input from other people, but I'm going to preface that with this point. Don't do it until one or two things. One, you understand the direction that you're going, and you're firm in that because that's your intuition. Or two, if you seek input from other people, the people or persons that you seek input from have gone down that path already, and you're not seeking the input, as Brenda Warren says here in the Facebook world, you're not seeking it for validation. See, when you go to inquire on things from other people, get into a space where you do it just from a strategy standpoint or an intellectual standpoint. They have more experience, the person that you're speaking to, they have more experience than you in the space that you're inquiring about. But do not do it because it makes you feel good. Do it for tweaks. That's it. And then you want to end up holding yourself accountable. Somebody texted me this morning. I started a Facebook group called Speaker 33, SPKR 33. And one of the guys in the group texted me something to the effect of, I look forward to seeing your strategy for the way that you post on your social media platforms. And I didn't answer that, but my answer to that is you just do it. Right? So many of you overanalyze a lot. You don't do. Like, you want the answer that it's going to be so right and everything's going to be perfect. It's going to go extremely well. Like, you want to hear all of that before you initiate something. And that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is you don't want to work. You don't want to put in work. You don't want to do work. I mean, I have followed so many people over the last 3 to 5 years on social media, and they stop growing. And when I say stop growing, yeah, they're doing stuff, but it's the same stuff from a year ago. You don't want to put in work. People say, well, there's things going on in my life. Well, hey, boo-hoo. As long as you have things going on in your life, bro, you're alive. And as long as you're alive, as I said this before, you can breathe. As long as you can breathe, you could do work. You could do the dumb thing. Stop being afraid of work. My dad, growing up, we had a shovel. I'm the oldest of 4 in yard work, and this one shovel, like, we didn't have any other tools, lawnmower and a shovel. I think we had a rake, a couple of teeth missing, but we had a shovel. This one shovel edged the front lawn. It chopped the heads off of snakes when they were around. It dug trees out of the ground. I was able to do so much with this one tool. Now, were there other tools? Yes, there were. But guess what? You are the one tool. I'm not calling you a tool. Probably could have used another, I don't know, verbiage on that one, but go with me on this. You are the one apparatus that can do it all. Stop shortchanging yourself and give yourself the respect that you deserve. Show up and wake up and show up and say to yourself, you know what? There's nothing I can't do. Like, I can do it all. And when I say that you can do it all, I know that you can. Why? Because you're human. There's a phrase I used earlier on in the show, and the adage was willy-nilly. Maybe it's not a phrase, but go with me on this one. When you leave the house in the morning or whenever you leave, you should know exactly what streets you're going down, what highways you're taking, where you're going to get, and the time it's going to take you to get there, give or take 5 minutes. Nowadays, with all the apps like Waze is an awesome app, you should be able to get to your destination within 2 to 3 minutes of the time you said you were going to be there. I have meetings all of the time, and people oftentimes are late. But let me tell you what being late does for me. Like, I'm not late. I'm not a late person. I don't even think it's in my blood to be late, unless I miss a flight, something like that. But when you show up to a meeting and you're late, you automatically lose control. Automatically lose control. unless there's such a wide informational gap or monetization gap between you and the people that you're meeting with. But more oftentimes than not, when you show up late, it says a lot about you. Like, you will potentially miss out on clients if you're late. You'll miss out on a lot of opportunities because you're late, because people are going to judge you being late. So that's a start of social awareness. Understand who you are and how you're going to get to where you go. So what are some other areas that you can develop more social awareness? Let's talk about this. One, and I'm looking at my notes, but show genuine concerns for others. Right? So how does one show concern for others? It's very easy. Just shut up and stop talking. Like, that's the easiest way to do it. You've never learned anything that's come out of your mouth. People love to talk. If you're that person, stop loving to talk. When you go meet somebody and you're engaging with them, just listen, use your ears. When you listen, you validate them. And when you validate them, you give them the warm and fuzzies. And then when you're able to listen to somebody's conversation, you don't retain all the information. I don't retain most of the information that people spew out of their mouth, but I'll listen, and I'll make sure that I'm engaging. I'm not just zoning out, right? And then asking some questions about the statements that they've brought up or comments that they've made, right? And then once you've done that, like on a deeper level, once you've been able to listen, now you really get to understand the statements that are behind the statements being made. So what do I mean by that? When you ask somebody, how are you doing? Oh, I'm having a great day. Well, we know that's not real based off the tone in which they delivered that response. So as they continue to talk some more and you ask them, oh, what are you doing to have a great day? Like, this is like communication 101, and then you get them to answer. More often than not, they won't be able to answer that question because they're truly not having a great day. Now, the next step is you ask them to engage with you on what's really going on, because more people don't care these days. They go throughout the day just engaging on such a vanilla level. But you want to build relationships and then increase your position authority during that conversation. You'll have a stronger team. You'll have a longer lasting bond with the people that you communicate with. And then people will start to see you, as crazy as this sounds, people will start to see you as a subject matter expert on your ability to listen, not the words that come out of your mouth. Because if you're always talking, you turn people off, says the guy that's a speaker. But I know when to talk and I know when not to talk. So if you can engage that, and then as people start to share information with you, guess what? Now you have information on them. Right now you can maybe better help them with their vision. Maybe you can better help them with their limitations. See, if you can help somebody with their limitations, there's such a bond that happens there. And the growth that happens in that person in that moment by way of you just listening goes through the roof. Because people today, they need help. They need assurances, and listening provides them that assurance. Do it with your team if you're leading a team from afar or remotely. Do it with your spouse. Do it with your kids. This whole show we're talking about increasing your emotional intelligence. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important. If you're leading a team, you need to have better social awareness. If you are really, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's a John Maxwell quote. But no matter what you're doing, you should show up as a leader, right? You should show up as a person of influence. I'm just going to say it. Nobody cares about your feelings. Like, the world that we're in today, people have so many problems on their own, dealing with their own garbage, that nobody cares or has the bandwidth to care about you. So you have to make you so vitally important that your presence shifts the mood in a room, shifts the energy in a room in a positive way, right? That's how you do that. And being a silent killer, and it's a metaphor, but being able to show up with that, and I always call it command presence, being able to be without speaking, without saying. And regardless of your education or experience, right? You don't have to have a high level of education. You don't have to have a lot of experience in a space to show up with confidence, to show up with command presence. You literally, if you just show up, I'm not talking physically, because if you got 15 people in a room, there's a phrase we used to use in one of the corporations I used to work for, and it was be here now. So physically, you're there. That's a given. But what is being here now? Not just being in the moment, being present. So not being on your phone. That's one. Not engaging everybody in the room, not just the people that you feel comfortable around. So let's talk about how to become comfortable with people that you're uncomfortable with. All right, address the fact that you're uncomfortable with these people. I don't know why. I have an idea as to why you would be uncomfortable with a group of people, because outside of that environment, you don't engage with them. And I talk about diversifying your associations. And the way you do that, if the 5 closest people to you, or in order to diversify your associations, you have to make sure the 5 closest people to you don't act like you, look like you, believe like you, think like you, or sound like you. Because once you do that, and nothing's comfortable in that environment, when the people closest to you are nothing like you have so much more to talk about, and they have so much more to teach you. And when they have so much more to teach you, you have so much more to learn. And when you learn from people that you don't share a life experience with in any aspect, on any platform, then you're just adding to or increasing your emotional intelligence. Collie Boy Dudley says, my saying is get an envelope and mail those feelings somewhere they care. Very true. Like, get them at it. And even though Collie says that's a saying, imagine this. Imagine if you were to put all your negative feelings in an envelope. I've never done this before, but I'm going off of a comment that I just saw Collie post on social media. Put your feelings in the envelope and just send it somewhere, where not to somebody you know, but just get it out. The question I have here is, hello, Dom. I started my photography business. What is the best way to promote to others, since many just want cheap and free stuff done for them? That's Hugo Mendoza, Terado Mendoza. Well, sir, as I've mentioned to my videographer here several times, and Jason, just nod your head if I have, stop calling yourself a freelancer. That's a start. The moment you tell somebody you're a freelancer, like, I don't know what lancer means, but I know what free is. I can even say it in Spanish, gratis. So stop referring to yourself as a freelancer. Now I'm going to direct you to social media. You, in the beginning of any, I'm talking to Hugo, I'm answering his question. In the beginning of your business, which you're in the infancy stages of it, you're going to do a lot of free stuff. Bro, my first year and a half of speaking, I never got paid, but I sure got a lot of video content that I'm still posting today. Matter of fact, I think the video that I posted on Instagram today at Dom Fawcett, that was a free talk, but I captured the video and I got it. So there's nothing wrong with shooting somebody for free, as long as you know some things you want to think about. What does their audience look like? Tell them before you shoot them that they have to tag you in all of the pictures, right? That's the price. So you're leveraging their audience to build your brand. I've done that several times. People have done it with me. I've done it with them. The other thing is, what are you shooting? And I think I've had this conversation with Jason, my videographer, as well. You got to stop shooting models. Models don't pay. Like, if all you're doing is shooting models, and I guarantee you, if I went to your Instagram, I'm not going to guarantee, but I'm not giving you a Dom statistic, went to your Instagram, Hugo, that there's people People typically aren't going to pay for your photography work. So what can you shoot? You got to shoot things, and I'm talking about photography, answering a question that Hugo asked me on Facebook. If you're just tuning in, the question was, I started my photography business. What is the best way to promote to others since many want cheap or free stuff? This is how, establish your price point. Don't put it on your website. Just tell them. And a lot of times with photographers and videographers, and I think Jason can attest to this, they'll show up in your Instagram, in your DM, right? Okay, so they show up in your DM. When they ask to set up a shoot, you give them 3 options. And Hugo and anybody else listening, this is how you set up. And you can do this with coaching, consulting, with photography, with whatever you do as a consultant or freelancer, which don't use that word. Call yourself a videographer, a video director, a photographer. Give yourself a title, not a freelancer. But what you want to do is you want to offer them 3 packages. So Hugo, you want to get away from free? This is how you do this. Package A, package B, package C. Or you can go silver, gold, and platinum package. Let's just go ABC for now. A package is a very low price point with very, very minimal offerings. So minimal that most people that want photos done, it's not enough for them. So you go to package B, where you offer a little bit more. You increase your price point. As you've increased your price points, I don't know photography price points, but you increase your price point and you offer some more things. So you make this package kind of sweet, right? You give them some Instagram tips on how to post, you size them right, give them a couple different sizes, 1-to-1 ratio for the front face of Instagram, 4-to-5 ratio for front face, and then maybe a Pinterest ratio for your Instagram story, right? These are some things that you provide them. So now you're going above and beyond. Now, the package C, or platinum package, this is going to be an expensive package to the point of, I'm dropping gold right now, to the point of if they purchased it, you would be surprised. So you have to build that out. And once you build that out and you know your price points, when somebody slides into your DM and they ask you, can I get some shots? You don't reply with the price. You ask, what type of shots are you looking for? They respond. And you know what I would do? I would just set up a 15-minute telephone consultation. And there's a very strategic way to do a consultation. I don't have time to go over to do it now. But consultations, if done right, should run like this. This is how I have benefited from them. I charge for my consultations, but let's say you don't charge for your consultations. 80% of your consultation, the time spent, should be you asking questions, them providing answers. The other 10% is you providing some client testimonials. And then the other 10% of this consultation is you advising what working with you looks like. So I would say, I hope that answered your question. It blew out the question. So I know it answered your question. Brenda asked, how do you get started in executive coaching and in radio? So those are 2 completely different questions. And I will depending upon time, I will start with executive coaching. You just start. That's it. You don't need a certification. I mean, they might make you feel good. You don't need a education. Executive coaching, let me just explain to everybody why I call myself an executive coach. Well, because I was an executive, and it sounds like it costs. Think about the way you title yourself. I'm not a life coach. Do I coach on a person's aspects of a person's life? Yes. But life coach is synonymous, in my experience, with free or not expensive. But when you start with executive coach, everybody, like, there's nothing about that title that says it's not going to be cheap. Oh, you're an executive coach. Like, that's how people respond. Oh, you're an executive coach. Like, okay, that's how you do that. You pick the titles that serve you best. You don't have, unless you're saying you're an FBI agent and you're not, that's illegal, or a police officer, you're not, firefighter, you're not. Like, those are things those are certifications, and there's training that goes along with that. But for most of this consulting stuff or this freelancing stuff, you just give yourself a name. It's that simple. You do not need a certification. And Brenda asked, how do you get into radio? Brenda, it's I would start with a podcast, right? That way you can hear what you're doing, how you sound on air. But every city, big or small, has big stations, small stations. I started off on a very small station, but I cut my teeth there, and I learned. And anybody out there who's doing podcasts, one of the best tips I ever got in radio that I apply to. Now I apply to being on TV. I apply to being on other people's podcasts. I have a podcast, Command Presence. You can find it on iTunes or Spotify. But it's no dead air. And what that's done for me on stage, just that comment that somebody made one day, hey, Dom, no dead air. And this is before I even started in radio. They just said, no matter what you do, no dead air. It allows me to just talk fluid. So when I'm on stage speaking, which is where I really make the money, I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Not sound like I do know what I'm talking about. But the way to get to this space where you can speak for an hour without stopping is by reading, is by self-education, is by confidence, is by owning who you are, is by being comfortable in your own skin. If you have a speech impediment like I do, who cares? It's just by being you. Some Templed_me says, I'm looking to get into clothing. Well, I am getting into clothing, but it's just me. Do I need a team or go at it alone? Go at it alone. A team in the beginning will always let you down. Plus, you don't have a business for the team to hold on to. Right now, it sounds like it's just a vision, and you've maybe done some things. So most of the stuff that I do on my own. I was doing all this camera stuff, and for those of you in radio, you can't see, but doing all this camera stuff well before a videographer came on. And I've had 2 or 3 come in. But I know you need to know what right looks like. You also need to know what wrong looks like. So do as much as you can. Templed me, go watch my video that I just posted on Instagram, on my front face of Instagram. And I think the video is what more can you do? Watch that video and that'll answer your question. That will definitely answer your question. Well, folks, it looks like the time has come upon us. We are at the top of the hour. And I just want to say thank you very much to you out there in the radio world that take time to listen in, and you out there in Facebook and Instagram world who take time to watch this show every Tuesday and then Sunday on the radio from 1 to 2. But again, I am Dom Fawcett, your executive coach and leadership speaker. And if you didn't know what station you were listening to, this is Intelligent Talk 960, The Patriot, KKNT. And folks, make sure you follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. And I'll see you guys and gals on the other side. Have a fantastic day.